My name is Ben Furman. I'm a psychiatrist from Helsinki, Finland, and my intention is to tell you about solution-focused brief therapy. Before I tell you more about solution-focused brief therapy, I may want to say a few words about myself so you have an idea of who it is that you are listening to. I'm trained as a medical doctor and a psychiatrist here in Finland. And when I was studying psychiatry, my intention was to become a psychoanalyst. At that time, in the early 80s, that was the melody of the time. Most of our professors in psychiatry and child psychiatry were psychoanalysts, and in our studies we were learning about psychoanalysis. I actually went to my own psychoanalytic treatment in order to become a psychoanalyst. But as I was doing my studies, I became interested in some new ideas, new kid on the block. And you know, the new kid on the block at that time in the early 80s, that was family therapy. It was the idea that we could be much more helpful to our clients and patients if, instead of working only with one person, we would invite people into the room, family members, even friends, sometimes an employer. And so I became excited about this whole new avenue of working with people. I watched videos of people working with families from America mostly, and I was excited about it. I was not the only one. I had colleagues who were interested in this new, promising field. And if you become interested in family therapy, you automatically hear about other trends that are related to family therapy. So I heard about brief therapy. When I say brief therapy, it can mean many things, because these days most therapies are at least try to be brief. But when I say brief therapy, I refer to a certain type of brief therapy, which is inspired by the work of Milton H. Erickson. I may need to tell you a little bit about Milton H. Erickson in order for you to understand what I mean when I say brief therapy. Milton H. Erickson he lived, I think he was born 1900, and then he lived until 1980. And he was a peculiar psychiatrist. He was a specialist in hypnosis, and he worked in psychiatry at the time when there were not so many medications available, and he was super interested in using hypnosis, psychological methods, in helping people. He was a little bit strange person, because when he told about stories of how he had helped his patients, and people didn't quite understand, like, why did you do like that? Or can you explain your method? He used to answer by saying, that reminds me of another story. And he was a real storyteller. And in order for you to get a little glimpse of Milton Erickson, I think I will have to tell you a Milton Erickson story. There are dozens, hundreds of stories, but I'm reminded by one story that kind of, I don't know why I remember just this one, but it was a guy who came in and said, I bite my nails so much that they are bleeding, like I suffer from this. And I want to have you, can you please hypnotize me to stop doing that? And Erickson talked to the guy, and he didn't hypnotize him. He was using something that was maybe a little bit close to hypnosis, but it was called brief therapy. And he said to him that I feel sorry for you. Yeah, I know, I'm suffering from my problem. No, that's not why I feel sorry for you, said Milton Erickson. And said, I'm sorry for you because you never get the chance to bite the whole nail. You know, when you grow a whole nail and and you get the ecstasy of biting that nail. And so, with this kind of motivational introduction, he made an agreement with the guy that he would be biting all the other nails, but he would choose one nail which he would grow. And that was possible for him to do that agreement. And he kind of, there was a sacred nail that he was growing. And when he came next time to the session with Milton Erickson, so he showed that I have been able to grow this nail. He probably was biting even more the other nails. So then Erickson says, well, go ahead. Go ahead what? Well, go ahead and do the thing that we were talking about. I don't want to, said the client. He didn't want to bite the nail. And Erickson didn't have to tell him that next time we meet, you might want to grow 2 nails. It was his own idea. And the treatment took a year. So it was not in a sense brief therapy, but it's a different style of helping people. And now you are already starting to get the idea that Erickson was a little bit different. He was not so interested in finding out why people have problems. He seemed to be less interested than anyone else in our field in finding out the reasons and the causes and the background and where problems come from. So he was very different from Sigmund Freud, who was super interested in figuring out what was the reason and the background for a problem. So Erickson became a little bit of a hero of mine. I started to devour, the stories, and I could use this time that we have for this video just telling you Erickson stories, but you can look them up. There is a lot of lovely literature about Milton Erickson. So think about Erickson as an inspirator, as the person behind this kind of brief therapy that we will be talking about in this series.